All right, welcome back. We are moving on to Dark Phoenix, and you know, when it comes to the X-Men, everybody knows how much I love the X-Men. They are my babies. They are the ones that I like. They're the ones that I grew up with, and they're the ones I believe in. And I think that they are the best Marvel property made or superhero property made. That's just my opinion.
That's my opinion!
But when it comes to this movie, I was very let down. But I am not going to start with myself. I am going to throw it over to Anthony. What did you think about this movie?
You know what? I actually, hearing a lot of people's opinions on the movie, I didn't think it was as bad as people think it was. I think out of all of the X-Men movies post X3, this was, not including Days of Future Past, this was their better one. I think it was better than First Class. And I know First Class was highly loved, but I enjoyed this movie more than First Class because I was actually hooked from beginning up until the end. I don't know why. I don't even have an emotional attachment to these characters, but from the very beginning up until the end, I was intrigued to see how she was going to take this energy that was inside her and how it was going to play out with the story. I think they did a great job of making the other X-Men kind of be supporters rather than it being a full X-Men movie, because it was called Dark Phoenix. And I also think that the other elements of it, like the CGI, the fighting scenes, the action scenes, the dialogue, I think all of it was pretty well-rounded and decent.
Patricia.
So I don't think it was a bad movie. I just think it was missing a lot. So the thing that I think we've had this discussion multiple times, is that it was missing the X-Men soul for me. So it was an X-Men movie, but I just don't feel like it was an X-Men movie. Like, it's hard to describe like what I mean when I say an X-Men movie.
I think what it was a good mutant movie.
Yeah.
Not necessarily
not
an X-Men
yeah.
movie.
They didn't play the theme song, that's why.
You know what's crazy? I was waiting for the theme song, the Fox. I was waiting for that, and they did not do that. Very disappointing.
That's what gets everyone like ready. Like,
yeah, interesting.
Yeah. But what I'll say to that though is, do you think their intention was to make it an X-Men movie, or just to focus on
the thing?
Jean
Like
Grey?
when I talk about X-Men movie too, I feel like you talk about like the mutants and the way they stick together, and then you have them fighting the same cause. Like they had that in this movie, but it was just missing that's like something like not something that you had in the other movie. So it was still the same format, but it was just it didn't feel like it.
The X-Men magic.
Yeah.
To Anthony's point though, the movie is called X-Men Dark Phoenix. Right, and the focus was on Dark Phoenix and Jean Grey, and they did a good job of doing that, of focusing on Jean Grey, regardless of whether it hit or missed. They focused on Jean Grey, and they had everybody else supporting, which was fine. I'm gonna throw it over to this end of the table. Kiki, what did you think of the movie?
Thank God they killed Jennifer Lawrence.
That's
foremost. I do think that there was a lot of plot holes. There was a lot. It was very choppy for me.
Yeah.
So that kind of made me judge the acting a bit. Like I judged Sophie Turner so hard on her acting, like just her portrayal of Jean Grey, which even from the previous X-Men, Jean Grey was never a big personality or a big character to begin with. I do think that overall, in terms of the storyline, I'm confused as hell. Like this is post the reset, but I was a little confused as to why the mutants were at a time where they were loved. Like why humans were like them.
Why they
Because I don't understand how that would have changed from the old timeline to the new timeline. Like why would humanity now all of a sudden like them?
I think it's because they saved them from damnation with Apocalypse. Yeah.
The CGI for me was alright.
Really?
Yeah, it was alright. It wasn't like A1, there was a certain part of the non-spoiler, right? There were certain parts where the CGI just stood out.
Oh
to
no,
me.
you can spoil because we all seen this.
Oh, okay. So when he lifted the subway train from in the streets and moved it up into the building, I didn't like how that looked at all.
I think that this movie had better CGI than Apocalypse for sure. Though.
Yeah, for sure, because Apocalypse was so CGI heavy.
Yeah.
What else? The villain was weak. It was just too choppy for me. Just for me to wrap it up, it was too choppy. There was plot holes, and it made the writing seem like poor Simon, like he didn't know what he was doing. But I don't think that's the actual case. That's just the movie that we got.
Crystal.
Well, I'm not a huge X-Men fan, so I don't really follow the X-Men universe too much. So in terms of storyline and all that stuff, like I couldn't really tell you if it was like if it was accurate or yeah.
So with the movie that they did give you,
with the movie that they did give, well, the first part of it, I was trying to not see her character from Game of Thrones. That's like it was. That's all I was seeing at first. But then after I got past that, I wasn't really feeling the movie either, to be honest. Like same thing that you were saying. I thought the plot was kind of like choppy. It wasn't really giving me much. I think my favorite character in that movie was the villain.
Jessica Chastain.
Yeah, I think she was my favorite character in the movie because I feel like, I don't know, I just have a thing for female villains.
I love female villains.
I just have
They're
a
my
thing
favorite
for
type of
female villains. They just, I don't know. And I just love the kind of like the body language she was giving and like her facial expressions. But I just wasn't really feeling it. I like the train scene though at the end. That was my favorite part. Like that was like the height of the movie. That's when I really got into it with the whole train action part. But up until then, I felt it was just kind of a little bit like draggy.
Just waiting. You're just waiting.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
Waiting for something more interesting to happen.
It's interesting because I felt like the pacing was actually pretty good. Like there was in the moment where I was like, "Come on, hurry up, get to the point." I just didn't feel like it was too slow. I didn't feel like it was too long. I was actually there was never a moment where I was bored. Basically,
For me, I'm gonna start with the things that I liked about the movie, and it's not really. And the more I think about it, I'm like, okay, yeah, there are some redeeming qualities to this movie, but not many. I feel like there's more redeeming qualities. I did not like X-Men 3, but the thing about X-Men 3 is that it was very entertaining, and there was a lot of redeeming qualities about it. One, the inclusion of Shadowcat. Two, Kelsey Grammer's Beast, right? Those are the things that I liked about it. When it comes to this movie, what I liked about it, what they've never given us in any X-Men movie, except for, not including Logan and Deadpool, the best action sequences from mutant on mutant fighting. Hand-to-hand combat from characters that we've never seen before. Kiki, you have to agree with me when it comes to this.
100%.
Storm,
So good.
Storm was badass in this, and this is what we've wanted to see.
Yeah.
Storm was badass. Nightcrawler was badass. Everybody did their thing. This was the first time ever that Professor X was on the field, and he was fighting with his powers.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So that was a redeeming quality for me. And I liked any scene that Michael Fassbender was in was
Definitely.
phenomenal.
oh, that
Phenomenal.
scene when he meets Jean Grey, like when they meet up for the first time in the movie, that was such a
With the
strong
helicopters
Oh, yeah.
and everything.
Well, when
I
he
think
even
that has
comes
to do
out.
with him.
Yeah, when he comes out.
There's a
I
strength.
think that
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His whole scene. Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
It's his
yeah.
presence.
So
Yes.
good.
Yeah.
There's
He's
something
so good.
about
Oh
him.
my
man.
gosh, I love him.
I love him. I know.
What I
So
think, where I feel like this movie fails is that it's a flat line. Like, I don't think that there's any high highs and low lows. I just feel like it just falls real flat. The saga is, the Dark Phoenix is one of the top three most iconic X-Men, film stories, right, within that universe, and it requires a lot more than what they've given us. And I think, to Patricia's point, it did not have the X-Men magic. They tried to give us the emotion, they tried to give us the feels, and that's what I look for with my X-Men movies, because they're very they're very based in reality, and they kind of show us a reflection of what's happening with racism and stuff like that. And we didn't really get that in this movie. Though they did try to hit us emotionally, I didn't feel the weight or the impact of what was happening.
Yeah,
they tried to hit us with the Jean Grey and her father situation.
Yeah.
They tried to hit us with
Jean Grey.
you know, like Mystique.
Yeah.
They tried to hit that, and you know, there's certain dialogue pieces that they had in this movie where the dialogue in X-Men is always, sometimes it's fantastic, especially between the characters of Magneto and Charles. There was a line from Magneto in the movie when he's Charles says sorry, and he's like, "You're always sorry, Charles." And then there's always a speech, and no one cares. That line right there is badass. Like that, those are the lines that we get in our X-Men movies. But unfortunately, it just holds no weight to what's happening around it.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I don't want to blame Simon Kimber too much on this movie, because we did talk about the movie without the other elements involved. But now I feel like we can talk about, because we talked about what we felt about the movie and what we saw on screen, I want to talk about what probably played a part in this. Now the reports are coming out, and the reports are saying that this movie was supposed to be a two-parter movie, right? And the reports are also saying that 2 months before, they were told to make it into two scripts into one script, and they cut their budgets
before what release date?
before principal photography, before going to camera. So some of the elements that we were supposed to have in this movie were now stripped away because we didn't have the time to tell it. I don't think it's fair for a movie that came up with an idea first, for them to have to come out after and have to change what they thought that how their film should be, because there's another movie that was thought of after that had the same element.
It just sucks. Like, I couldn't imagine being told, "Oh, yo, you have two movies, sorry, you got to make it into one, and you have less than 2 months to do it."
Yeah.
You know,
Like,
so
that's a really hard thing to do, especially with the saga.
And even though it's not fair, that's the industry, right?
Yeah.
So like obviously it sucks for the franchise and for the people that are working on it, but it comes with the business.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So then if you can work with what you have and still make a great movie, you should do that.
I think their only saving grace with this is the fact that we will still get a Dark Phoenix reboot in the future with the MCU.
Yeah.
That'll redeem this one.
Right?
I just wish that to end this franchise, the movie that basically, like, it started it all, like the franchise that kind of started it all with X-Men 1,
Had to end this way,
to end it on this note, I feel like is a disservice to the fans, right? And that's why I personally I'm a little annoyed about it. I would have loved to see what they would have done. I hate hearing that, oh, we would have got this and we would have got that, and we didn't get it because of other elements. But I'm super happy that they're going over to the MCU, so like that's not even like, you know, it's just bad timing. Once they get a hold of it and they're like, okay, now we're making it, I feel like they're gonna be like, okay, we're gonna put everything into it, because the strongest the strongest female superheroes come from the X-Men. Like in terms of the Marvel universe, it comes from the X-Men. And I pray that they are building Captain Marvel up to showcase how strong this particular lady is when they tear her down, because they have to use Rogue to get her. If they want Rogue to be this Rogue and not the Rogue that Fox gave us, then which nobody liked, right? They have to show you how strong Captain Marvel is to show you how strong Rogue and the X-Men are when they come in. And so now we're just gonna get into these movies where like there's just a OP everybody.
I just don't think it's as bad as people are saying it is.
We still liked it though.
I guess.
Yeah.
It's all good though. You know what? I will never abandon the franchise. I'll never abandon my X-Men. We will get them in the MCU. Let's start off with Anthony. What is your verdict out of 10?
I'm gonna give it a 6.75.
Patricia.
I give it a 6.
Keisha.
5.
Oh my god. That's so
Five's not-
Crystal.
6.
6?
Hold on, wait. 5.5.
I'm actually gonna give it a 6. I think this is I'm gonna give it a 6. I have nothing more to say.
I upped it by 0.5 due to the fact that the hand-to-hand motion combat was amazing.
Yes, yes, it was. All right, that will do it for this episode of Cinema Circle. Kiki.
If you want to join us on the show here, or you want to see, check us out, you can follow us on Instagram at cinema_circle. If you have any questions, you just want to hit us up, send us an email at cinemacircle1@gmail.com.
From everybody here on the panel, I want to thank Crystal Rose for joining us again. And you at home, keep it 100.